Hey guys, it's Tim and Anthony here at Duramax Center. Behind us, I got our project DIY Till I Die. We're just about wrapped up with this thing, just finished it on the dyno. So we didn't make it back on the dyno before we started the sled pull season. After we installed all the parts, we kind of left off on the dyno. I think it was about 105 horsepower over stock. Remember that baseline came in really low, 220 horsepower, Mustang dyno, uncorrected. Started there, put our parts on, started to add some fuel, dial in the fuel. Cranked it up to about 2,000 US. I would have pegged that for somewhere in the mid 500s. That's where Jake left off sled pulling. That's kind of where we topped off with the LB7 regulator, which I know a lot of you guys were interested in. Hey, why can we put a 10 mil pump with still get an LB7 regulator? Well, we kind of found the limit there, especially in the higher RPM sled pulling. We were winding this thing out to 3,900, 4,000 RPM in a couple of the logs. That's where we really saw fuel pressure take a dive. We went ahead and swapped the regulator to that LBZ regulator. We were able to crank up the fuel a little bit more. I probably got another 100 horsepower out of it just by doing that. So we wanted to strap it back on the dyno, see where we were at. All dialed in, we made 600 rear wheel horsepower on the dot and just under 1,300 foot-pounds of torque. As a tuner, the dyno is here as a tool to work with and show a power increase, right? So baseline 220 horsepower. And 470 foot-pounds of torque or something god awful.
Yeah, it was terrible.
600 rear wheel horsepower on the dot, and I think 1,290 foot-pounds of torque.
Right around there, yeah.
So about 170% increase in power and over 200% increase in torque. So
yeah,
it wasn't like the peak power of gods of LB7, but it did what it needed to do. We got a really nice pull, a couple pulls out of it. Anything else you want to talk about, Anthony?
And contrary to what you might see on YouTube, at the end of the day, we have a completed truck behind us. It did what we were hoping for. It did everything that we wanted it to, and it's running, it's driving, everything's good there. We didn't get there just overnight. You know, the videos, the guys in media do a nice job of editing it where it's all complete, it's all done and ready to go. But we had a laundry list of issues that we, ran into. One of the first things, we pulled the motor to do head studs. We almost just threw the injectors and the pump in there, but we didn't want to, have to take it out. It blow a head gasket on the first pass. So we pulled the motor out. We had our Super Tech Jake give us, some guidance on doing the head studs. And we put the motor in, we had issues.
Got the truck back together and it didn't run right.
Yeah.
Right. So immediately, hey, is it an injector? We were swapping out injectors. Luckily, it wasn't anything like that. We just had a fuel supply issue. One of the old rails was just so corroded and built up with crap.
And how do you find that out? It was knocking. We have videos of, the first fire, it fired up fine. And then you just hear it sound like a fuel knock, and it's like, oh shit, did something happen with the fuel system? Is the fast working right? The injector's good? There's a whole lot of stuff, and it took, a week, 2 weeks before we figured out that a fuel rail, of all things.
Yep. Puts everybody on edge, though, right? Because, I'm questioning, what I did, what you did. Did Jake do something wrong? Did we do something wrong? And, hey, we're supposed to be out sled pulling the truck, and now we have issues. What's going on, right? And then you kind of get that first sign of relief of, hey, we figured it out. Truck's running good. We put a basic tune-up in it, got the truck out, got it driving, boom, first sled pull. Hey, we're a little short. I think the truck locked up in third, and then it didn't have any balls. Like it just fell on its face, right? I think it pulled 230 feet the first pull or something like that. And, shot the oil seal out of it, right? So there's oil everywhere. It's like, oh, great. This thing just got put back together. Now we got to take it apart again. What's going on? Did we hurt something else? Drove back on the trailer and all that. But now we got one more thing to do.
That's
right?
That's in the back of your mind. It's like, oh, shit. It just got together. We just had the motor out. We just put it back in. Does this have to come out? Are we going to tie up your time? Are we going to tie up my time? Jake's in tuning.
This isn't a 6 or 7 hour project. This is weeks and weeks and weeks, and then you got to go back and dial it in. This is all over a 3 or 4 month span, an entire sled pull season that honestly we missed the first half of just because we were trying to get the truck figured out. And we have families and nights and weekends, they aren't always available, right? But here we are. It's a completed project. As far as budget with dollars and cents, I think we were within $1,000 of dollars and cents, right? As far as time, like the things you'll never get back is just the time, right?
Yeah.
Probably an extra 30 or 40 hours, like a week of work went into this than I had originally planned. much less Jake's time and the nights and the early mornings and everything else. And then just the time to go to the events. So, you know, with DIY in mind, like, yeah, the budget's one thing, but like if you got to get up and go to work the next day, you also got to keep that in mind. Like, you're not going to just be grinding it out in the garage till 2 or 3 in the morning. Like, at the end of the day, you got to get back up at 6 o'clock and do your day all over again. So if you've never worked on a truck before, can you do this? Sure, right? We did. There's a lot of help out there. Maybe your buddy, maybe throw some beer in the garage and you'll get it done. But definitely when you get to the point of pulling the motor out, doing the injectors, especially on an LB7, it's a complex build.
Yeah. The big thing there is organization, and I cannot stress that enough. From an unorganized person, you look at this, you're like, oh, I just got to take a few things off. But then you actually see, and I think we're probably spoiled to that sense where we see the guys do it every day, so we might take it for granted. But when Jake actually walks us through and shows us how he does stuff, and there's a mountain of parts, and they're all in bags, they're all written, they're all organized, it's like, oh shit, I didn't realize that that's how much goes into it. So it's kind of a reality check for us.
Yeah, you got a 1-car garage. Good luck, you know.
You're gonna no-car garage.
Yeah, you're going to be overflowing into your kitchen and everything else. Yeah. So, other than that, we had Jason out from Worley Custom Fab talking about the parts we put on this truck and why. We have 2 things left on our checklist to do. Right. We want to hit the drag strip. It already went dirt dragging, did well. We're going to try and get it out back in the dirt again. Couple more races there, and then the big trip. Right? Yeah. So we'll keep you guys posted on that. It may be a couple weeks, it may be a couple months. We're gonna try and take this thing snowmobiling, do some other cool stuff with it, maybe donuts and try not
anything we can. We're gonna try to blow it up, but hopefully it doesn't blow it up.
Pretty much.
We're gonna have fun with it.
Again, we had some sponsors and guys who helped us out big, so we greatly appreciate that. We hope you guys enjoyed this build. Again, if you need anything, if you have questions, if you want us to do something with this truck, just let us know. I'm Tim Mahoney.
And I'm Anthony.